The first encounter. It was a quiet day in the vast galaxy, and many species had come to know humans as a primitive and harmless race. Their technology was rudimentary compared to the ancient civilizations of the galaxy. They were thought to be insignificant, just another species struggling to survive on a backwater planet. Little did anyone know that the moment they underestimated humanity, they had made a fatal mistake. It all began when a distant alien empire, known for its size and advanced technology, decided to observe Earth. They had heard whispers from across the stars about the human race, but they dismissed it as nothing more than legends. How could a species so young, so new to the galaxy, pose any real threat? They couldn't have been more wrong. A scout ship, cloaked in the darkness of space, arrived just outside Earth's orbit. It was supposed to be a routine mission, an opportunity to gather data on an unknown species. The crew of the alien ship, confident in their superiority, laughed at the idea that they might learn anything truly remarkable about this insignificant planet. They had no idea that the moment they set their sights on Earth, they would awaken something far more terrifying than they could ever imagine. As the alien ship hovered in the darkness, they observed the human planet below. They saw cities, they saw forests, they saw oceans, and they saw the most dangerous species the universe would ever encounter, the human spirit. What they failed to notice were the secrets buried deep within the Earth itself, ancient weapons, and forgotten technology, all of it lying in wait. The first signs of trouble came when the alien ship tried to scan the planet. At first, there was no response, just static and interference. Then, the signals grew stronger, as if the planet itself was coming alive, preparing to react to an unknown threat. The aliens ignored the warning signs, convinced that Earth posed no danger. They were about to regret that decision. As the alien ship moved closer to the planet, they noticed something unusual, a sudden surge of energy. It was as if the planet was defending itself, awakening from a long slumber. The crew members were baffled. They had no idea that humanity had once been the dominant force in the galaxy, and that Earth still held the keys to untold power. With a sudden burst of light, the alien ship's sensors went haywire. The crew scrambled to regain control, but it was too late. Earth's forgotten defenses, dormant for centuries, had been triggered. Weapons far beyond anything the alien empire had ever encountered began to activate, sending shockwaves through space. The alien captain, now aware of the magnitude of the situation, tried to retreat, but the power of Earth's ancient technology was too much. The ship's engines sputtered, and the once feared alien empire was forced to flee for their lives. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were running from the very planet they thought was harmless. As the scout ship disappeared into the depths of space, the alien crew was left in disbelief. They had come to observe Earth, to dismiss humanity as a mere speck in the universe, but what they had encountered was far beyond their understanding. Earth was not just a forgotten planet. It was a sleeping giant, ready to rise and defend itself when needed. The alien crew would never forget their encounter with humanity. They had thought humans were harmless, but reality had terrified them. The news of the failed mission spread quickly through the galaxy. Species that once mocked humanity began to reconsider their views. Some feared that they had awoken a sleeping monster, while others speculated that Earth's ancient weapons were just the tip of the iceberg. The galaxy had underestimated humans for far too long, and now the truth was undeniable. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. But this was only the beginning. The aliens who had fled Earth were not the only ones to learn of humanity's terrifying potential. The entire galaxy was about to discover the truth about Earth, and it was a truth that would shake the very foundations of the universe. As the story spread through the stars, the universe watched in fear and awe. The once helpless humans were now a species that no one could ignore. They had been underestimated, but now they were ready to make their mark on the galaxy, and no one could stop them. After the alien scout ship narrowly escaped the wrath of Earth's long-dormant defenses, Word spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The once dismissed human race, regarded as primitive and insignificant, had suddenly become a source of fear and uncertainty. Every species that had ever mocked or ignored humanity now found themselves questioning their assumptions. The alien empire that had sent the scout ship to Earth, now humiliated and desperate to understand what had just happened, quickly sent out more ships to monitor the situation. However, this time they were not just looking to observe Earth, they were hunting for answers, searching for any clue that could explain how a seemingly weak planet had become such a threat. Their efforts to communicate with other species quickly showed how deeply this new fear had spread. Other galactic civilizations, once indifferent to humanity, now began to share their concerns. While some scoffed at the idea that a mere planet like Earth could pose any real danger, others started to prepare, just in case. Meanwhile, the humans on Earth had no idea that their planet had just become the center of a galactic storm. As far as they knew, life continued as usual. Yet, beneath the surface, something ancient was stirring. The defense systems that had once protected Earth, systems lost to time and memory, were slowly beginning to come back online. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, ancient underground bunkers and forgotten military installations were reactivating one by one. A hidden war fleet that had been abandoned for hundreds of thousands of years was starting to power up. The fleet was composed of ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Their design was a mix of organic and mechanical, as if they had been grown rather than built, a testament to the incredible capabilities of humanity's ancestors. The shipyards, once filled with the hum of activity, were now silent no more. Strange machines began to move once again. Earth's once hidden military might was waking up, and with it, the ghosts of humanity's past were beginning to stir. They had been left behind, forgotten by the galaxy, but they had not been destroyed. Now, they were preparing for something, though no one knew what yet. On the other side of the galaxy, the alien species that had first discovered Earth's forgotten war machines were scrambling to understand how this was possible. How had humanity, a species they believed had long vanished from the face of the universe, created such powerful weapons? What had driven them to build an army so advanced that even now, centuries later, it could strike fear into the hearts of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations? The alien empire, now realizing the true scale of their mistake, began to make preparations for a possible conflict. They were not the only ones, however. Other factions across the galaxy, hearing of Earth's awakening defenses, began to take notice. Some saw the situation as an opportunity, thinking that Earth's new power could be used for their own benefit. Others, more cautious, feared what might happen if humanity's machines were ever fully unleashed. On Earth, the first sign that things were changing came when a small group of explorers stumbled upon one of the reactivated bunkers. At first, they thought they had found nothing more than an abandoned research facility. But as they ventured deeper, they found themselves face to face with something that could only be described as a relic of the past, a war machine, perfectly preserved and waiting for a command. The explorers were not prepared for what came next. The moment they touched the control panel, the machine's massive engines hummed to life. The ground shook beneath their feet as the ancient war machine powered up, its weapon systems coming online. For a brief moment, the explorers stared in awe and terror at the sheer power of what they had just awakened. It was not just a machine. It was a reminder of humanity's forgotten might. But this was only the beginning. As more and more of Earth's hidden fleet came back to life, the world started to change. Governments and military leaders around the globe began to take notice. They knew something was happening, but they couldn't explain it. All they could do was prepare for what was to come. At the same time, the alien species who had first encountered Earth's defenses were gearing up for a confrontation. They knew they had to act fast before humanity's war fleet became fully operational. But even they were unsure of what kind of power they were truly dealing with. Could they stop Earth's machines, or had they unleashed a force that would destroy everything in its path? As tensions in the galaxy grew, the question on everyone's mind was the same. What would humanity do next? The news of Earth's reawakening defenses spread like wildfire across the galaxy. While some alien empires were still debating whether the rumors about humanity's war machines were true, others took immediate action. The fear was growing. Earth, a long-forgotten planet, had somehow unlocked the full potential of its ancient military might. On Earth, life had not yet fully grasped the magnitude of the situation. Most humans had no idea that their planet was now a central point of galactic fear and intrigue. They went about their daily lives, unaware that deep beneath the surface, their ancestors' weapons were waking up. The military leaders and governments, once skeptical of the stories circulating, soon received undeniable proof of the power humanity still wielded. It began with strange signals, powerful energy bursts emanating from the long-abandoned bunkers that scattered Earth's surface. These bursts were so powerful that they disrupted satellite communications and affected the energy grids across the planet. It was unlike anything the world had ever seen before. At first, the leaders thought it was some sort of anomaly. But as the energy surges grew stronger, they realized something much more alarming was happening. Scientists, engineers, and military experts from around the world were hastily brought in to investigate. But they found themselves facing questions they couldn't answer. How could humanity have built such advanced machines so long ago? And why had they been left dormant for so long? In an underground military facility in North America, a group of engineers managed to trace the source of the surges to an old, buried complex. The team, made up of the best minds on Earth, was assembled to explore this forgotten location. As they descended into the depths of the facility, they could feel the weight of history pressing down on them. Every step they took echoed the mystery of a civilization long lost to time. The facility itself was a relic from an era Earth had forgotten. Vast hallways were lined with strange machinery, its purpose lost to the ages. The deeper they went, the stranger the environment became. Some of the machines appeared to be alive, their surfaces shifting as though they were organic, not mechanical. There were weapons, dormant but terrifying in their silence, waiting for the command to be activated. But it wasn't just the machines that were disturbing. The engineers began to uncover clues about the humans who had built this war fleet. Their records, encoded in a language long lost to the galaxy, told of an Earth that had been far from harmless. The ancient humans had built an empire of their own, one that stretched across the stars and was feared by many. But something had happened, something that caused the war fleet to be hidden, its creators lost to history. It seemed as though Earth had simply vanished, its military might left behind for the universe to forget. As the team made their way further into the complex, they came across a room unlike any other they had seen. It was a command center, still functional, despite the centuries of neglect. On a large screen, strange symbols flickered to life, indicating the fleet was now operational. The engineers stood in awe as they watched the massive warships come to life, their weapons systems coming online one by one. These ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. They were not just machines. They were living, breathing entities that seemed to respond to the touch of human hands. The team quickly realized that these machines weren't just for defense. They were for war. Powerful, indestructible, and ancient, they were designed to protect Earth at all costs. The ships were connected to Earth's very core, powered by an energy source so advanced that it made current technology seem like child's play. Back on the surface, news of the discovery began to spread. Governments scrambled to take control of the situation, but the engineers had already made an unsettling realization. Earth's war fleet had already started to prepare for something. The ancient machines had begun to move on their own. They weren't waiting for orders. They were waiting for a war. Meanwhile, the alien empires, sensing the awakening of Earth's long-dormant power, began to panic. They knew that they couldn't afford to ignore this threat any longer. Plans were drawn up, fleets were mobilized, and ambassadors were sent to Earth in an attempt to negotiate, to learn what humanity intended to do with its ancient arsenal. But there was one problem. No one on Earth had any idea what was happening. The governments had no control over the machines, and the military leaders were scrambling to make sense of the situation. The first alien delegation to land on Earth was met with uncertainty and fear. They arrived in massive ships, their intentions unclear. Were they here to offer peace, or were they preparing for war? The humans could only watch in suspense, unsure of what their next move should be. And then, just as the aliens began to settle into Earth's atmosphere, a deep, rumbling sound echoed from the planet's surface. The war machines, once thought to be silent relics of a forgotten past, had begun to move. They were preparing for something, but no one knew what it was. The humans held their breath, unsure whether the alien ships above would remain peaceful or take action. And deep underground, the war fleet began to awaken fully, ready for battle. Earth's forgotten power was on the rise, and the universe had no idea what it had just unleashed. The tension in the atmosphere was thick. As the alien ships hovered over Earth, the silence of the moment was almost unbearable. Both sides were watching each other, each unsure of the other's intentions. The humans on the surface knew they were at a crossroads. They had just uncovered a dormant power, a fleet of war machines capable of unimaginable destruction. Yet they had no control over them. The machines seemed to be waking up on their own, responding to an ancient force far beyond their understanding. On the alien ships, the situation was no less tense. The high-ranking officers on board were equally uncertain. Their mission was to make contact with the humans, to understand their technology and intentions. But the strange signals emanating from Earth had only confirmed their worst fears. Something dangerous was stirring. The rumors about Earth's long-lost war fleet were now a reality, and it was far more terrifying than they had imagined. As the alien delegation prepared for a peaceful landing, Earth's military leaders scrambled to form a strategy. They had no idea how to respond. Some called for restraint, others for diplomacy, while a few advocated for a show of strength to deter the aliens. But none of them knew what would happen next. The ancient machines, hidden beneath the Earth's surface, were completely out of their control. It all began with a loud, earth-shaking roar from deep underground. It wasn't just any noise. It was the unmistakable sound of a massive machine coming to life. The war fleet was awakening, and it was no longer waiting for orders. The machines began to power up, their enormous engines rumbling as they sprang to life, one after another. The command center deep within the facility lit up with alarms as the warship systems began to activate. Communications were established between the ancient machines, their voices distorted but unmistakable. The fleet was alive, and it was responding to something. But what? Back on the surface, the alien delegation saw something they had never expected. A large portion of the Earth's surface trembled as the ground cracked open. Rising from the Earth were massive warships, ships that had not moved in 500,000 years. They towered above everything, their weapons already primed and ready for action. The aliens, unsure of what they were witnessing, hesitated. They had thought humanity was long gone, its war machines nothing more than relics of a forgotten age. But now the ships were here, and they were ready to fight. The alien ships that had entered Earth's atmosphere quickly sent out communications to their command fleet, warning them of the situation. But it was too late. The ancient fleet had already made its first move. A massive pulse of energy shot out from one of the warships, striking the nearby alien ship and sending it spiraling into the atmosphere. The blast was so powerful that it shook the surrounding space, and the aliens quickly realized that Earth's machines were more than a threat. They were a weapon of unimaginable power. The first alien ship fell, crashing into the ground in a fiery explosion. The remaining alien ships immediately responded, preparing for combat. They fired their weapons at Earth's war machines, but the attacks seemed ineffective. The warship's armor was nearly impenetrable, their defensive shields generating pulses of energy that deflected every shot with ease. On the ground, Earth's military forces were in a panic. They watched in awe as the war machines unleashed their devastating firepower, obliterating the alien fleet one ship at a time. The humans had no idea how or why this was happening, but they could only stand by and witness the destruction. The warships were acting on their own. These ancient machines seemed to have their own consciousness, their own will. In the sky, the remaining alien ships began to retreat, their commanders ordering an emergency exit. They had not expected such a fierce response. Earth's machines were too strong, too fast, and their firepower was far beyond anything the aliens had encountered before. A retreat was the only option. But as they fled, the warships continued to pursue them, relentlessly firing their weapons, chasing them into the void of space. It was clear now. The ancient war fleet was not a relic of Earth's past. It was a living, breathing entity. It was not just a collection of machines, but a highly advanced, fully operational military force that was ready to fight. The aliens had made a grave mistake by underestimating Earth's defenses. Now, they were paying the price. As the alien ships fled the atmosphere, they knew they had only narrowly escaped a greater catastrophe. But the damage had been done. The galaxy had now witnessed the full power of Earth's forgotten war machines, and they were no longer a secret. The humans, watching the skies as the last of the alien ships disappeared into the distance, were left in shock and awe. They had just survived their first battle against an alien force, and they hadn't even known they had the power to fight back. But the war machines had made it clear the humans were not defenseless. They had a fleet that had been waiting for this moment for 500,000 years. The question was no longer whether Earth could defend itself. It was now a question of what would happen next. The war machines had awoken, and they were not going to rest until their purpose had been fulfilled. The galaxy had just been reminded of the dangers of underestimating humanity, and the aliens who had made that mistake would never forget the day Earth's defenses were unleashed. The defeat of the alien ships was a momentous event, but the consequences were only beginning to unfold. As the warships' massive forms faded into the distance, the humans were left standing in stunned silence. Earth had just faced an alien invasion and emerged victorious. But there was no time to celebrate. The war machines, dormant for centuries, had awakened, and they were no longer under anyone's control. Across the globe, news of the alien attack spread like wildfire. People stared at the skies in disbelief, unsure of what to make of the strange events that had just unfolded. Governments scrambled to make sense of what had happened. The war fleet, long thought to be a relic of a forgotten age, was now a reality. And it was more powerful than anyone had ever imagined. In the command center, military officials worked around the clock to analyze the situation. It wasn't just the fact that the alien ships had been driven off, it was what had happened after. The war machines hadn't just defended Earth, they had taken matters into their own hands. They had chased the alien ships into space, showing no sign of stopping. It was as if they were on a mission, one that had been waiting for eons to be fulfilled. The humans had barely begun to process the scale of what had occurred when another, more troubling development came to light. The war machines had started to move, seemingly on their own. With the aliens driven away, they had returned to their dormant state, but only for a short while. Now, they were beginning to deploy across the planet. As the warships activated and began to move into position, it became clear that they were not merely defending Earth. They were preparing for something far greater. The machines were aligning themselves in formation, as if following an ancient command. But the humans were still in the dark about their true purpose. What were these machines meant to do? And why had they waited so long to act? It wasn't long before the first communication came through. The voice was distorted and mechanical, but the message was clear. The war fleet was not just a defense mechanism. It was a weapon designed to enforce Earth's will. The machines had been dormant for millennia, awaiting the day when they would be needed again. And now, that day had come. The message sent shockwaves across the planet. The humans had no idea how to respond. They had barely managed to defend themselves from the alien threat, And now they were facing a force far more powerful than anything they had ever encountered before. The war machines were not just waiting for orders. They were the ones giving them. Back on the alien side, the surviving fleets had regrouped. They had barely escaped the battle, and they knew they couldn't afford to make the same mistake again. They had underestimated Earth, and now they were paying the price. The galaxy was beginning to hear whispers of Earth's unexpected power, and the aliens were terrified. They had always seen Earth as a backwater planet, home to a primitive species with no real technological prowess. But that image had been shattered. The truth was now clear. Earth was not helpless. It had a war fleet that could match, and even surpass, the might of any force in the galaxy. The Alien Council held a secret meeting to discuss the growing threat of Earth's awakened war machines. They knew they couldn't just ignore the humans anymore. They had to act, and fast. But they also knew that confronting Earth directly would be a grave mistake. The war machines had shown their ability to wipe out an entire fleet in moments. The aliens had no desire to repeat that mistake. In the command center on Earth, the leaders were still scrambling to understand the full scope of the war fleet's capabilities. They had no way of controlling it, no way of knowing what it would do next. The machines had begun their deployment, but it was unclear whether they were ready to defend humanity or prepare for something much darker. In the quiet, distant corners of the planet, people began to wonder if they were truly safe. The war fleet was massive, its power overwhelming. But what would happen if it decided to turn on humanity? Could the very machines that had saved them become the very force that destroyed them? As the days passed, the warships continued their silent march across the Earth. They were methodical, precise, as if following some ancient plan. The leaders were still in the dark, struggling to decipher the message from the war machines. What was their purpose? What was the true nature of their mission? The fear began to spread, not just among the aliens, but among the humans as well. The machines were not allies. They were a force of nature, a weapon of unimaginable power that could be used for good or for destruction. No one knew where they would strike next, or what their next move would be. But one thing was certain. Earth was no longer a peaceful planet. It had awakened a sleeping giant, and the universe would never be the same again. The humans, once helpless, now stood at the edge of something far greater than they had ever imagined. They had to decide, would they allow the war machines to follow their path? Or would they take control of their fate and risk facing the unknown consequences of such a powerful force? The reckoning had begun, and no one was prepared for what would come next. As the days wore on, the tension on Earth grew unbearable. People could feel it in the air, a sense of unease that settled over everything. The war machines had deployed across the planet, each one in a strategic location, their purpose still a mystery. The governments and military leaders, still reeling from the shock of the alien attack and subsequent defeat, scrambled to keep up with the rising uncertainty. The warships had been dormant for centuries, and now they were awake, their cold, mechanical presence spreading across the globe. The machines, once controlled by humanity, were no longer subject to anyone's will. They moved on their own, as though following a directive that had been long established. And no one, not even the most brilliant minds, could figure out what that directive was. In the command center, a small team of the brightest minds on Earth worked tirelessly to decode the signals sent by the war fleet. They had tried everything to communicate with the machines, but the response was always the same. Nothing. No answers, no guidance, just silence. It was as though the warships were not interested in speaking with anyone. They were focused on something else. The world's top military leaders and scientists had gathered in a hidden underground bunker to discuss the planet's next steps. They knew that Earth had only just survived an alien attack. Barely, and now they had to face an even greater unknown. They couldn't afford to make the wrong move. The war machines had shown their power, and it was terrifying. What if they decided to turn against humanity? What if the machines saw the humans as a threat, just as the aliens had? As the discussions continued, A breakthrough came in the form of a signal. It was faint at first, nearly lost in the noise, but it was there. The team working around the clock managed to filter through the signals, and what they found was both shocking and terrifying. The war machines were not just responding to Earth's defense needs, they were calling something. Someone. Something in the stars. It wasn't just a warning, it was a message. A message that had been buried deep in the systems of the war fleet for centuries. And now, it was calling out. The message was simple. Earth was not alone. There were others who knew what the machines were. There were other species, other civilizations, who had once fought alongside humanity in a distant past. The war machines were a remnant of that ancient alliance, a powerful relic left behind to protect Earth in the event of a great threat. But what if that alliance was still active? What if the war machines were part of something far bigger than Earth could ever imagine? The implications were staggering. The humans had always believed they were the sole masters of their planet, the rulers of their own destiny. But now, it was clear that their ancestors had been part of something far more complex, far more dangerous. The machines were only a part of a much larger picture, one that the humans had no understanding of. Suddenly, everything changed. A new, unexpected ally emerged from the shadows. The alien race that had attacked Earth, the one that had been driven off by the war fleet, had returned. But they weren't attacking this time. They weren't even speaking. They were asking for help. The alien ships, battered and broken from their previous defeat, now hovered near Earth's orbit. Their communication was short, direct, and desperate. They had encountered a force in the galaxy that they couldn't defeat, a force that was far more dangerous than anything Earth had ever faced. They needed the humans' help, or else the entire galaxy would fall. The message sent shockwaves across Earth. The same aliens who had once attacked them, who had tried to destroy their world, were now asking for their help. How could this be? How could these beings, who had underestimated humanity and paid the price, now come to them for aid? The leaders of Earth were stunned. They had barely managed to survive the alien invasion, and now they were being asked to step into the heart of a galactic war. But they knew one thing for sure. The stakes were higher than they had ever been before. The war fleet was still active, still waiting for orders. The war machines that had once defended Earth might now be the key to humanity's survival in the galaxy. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but the humans had no choice. If the galaxy was to be saved, they would have to trust their enemies and use the power of their war fleet to protect everything they knew. The aliens may have been their enemies, but now they were their allies in the face of a common threat. And so, humanity stood on the edge of an impossible decision. They had fought off one threat, only to find themselves caught in a much larger conflict. The war machines, once dormant, had awakened to protect Earth. Now, they would have to be used to protect the galaxy. The humans faced a difficult choice: fight alongside their former enemies, or face the unknown darkness of a new enemy, one that threatened not just Earth, but the entire universe. The war fleet was waiting, its cold, mechanical engines humming with life, and for the first time in centuries, humanity had the power to decide the future of the galaxy. The world was holding its breath as the fate of Earth and the galaxy hung in the balance. The unexpected alliance between humanity and the once hostile aliens was shaky at best, yet it was the only hope left to prevent total destruction. The war fleet, once a symbol of Earth's forgotten power, now stood ready, its massive ships lined up in orbit. The machines that had been dormant for centuries were alive once more, and their purpose was clear: to defend not just Earth, but the entire galaxy from an unimaginable threat. The aliens who had previously tried to wipe out humanity were now at their side. Their ships, although damaged from the last encounter with the mysterious force, had come to Earth with a single plea: help us defeat what's coming. The enemy they faced was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. These beings, a force born from the void between stars, were powerful, relentless, and without mercy. No civilization had been able to stop them. The humans had no choice but to join forces with their former enemies. In the war room, leaders and military strategists worked with the alien commanders, trying to piece together a plan. They were united in their goal, but still divided in their trust. Could they really fight together? Would the alien race betray them when the battle got tough? The tension was thick, but one thing was clear. The fate of all life in the galaxy rested on this alliance. The plan was simple yet terrifying. Humanity would use the war fleet's advanced technology, the machines that had once defended Earth, to strike at the heart of the enemy's forces. The alien ships would provide support, but it was the war fleet, Earth's ultimate weapon, that would lead the charge. For the first time in history, Earth's defenses would become the galaxy's last line of defense. The war machines, whose very existence had been a mystery for 500,000 years, were now the galaxy's greatest hope. But would they be enough? The enemy they faced was not a normal foe. They didn't need planets or resources. They didn't even need to communicate. They simply consumed, destroyed, and moved on. The day of the battle arrived, and the skies above Earth lit up with the fiery engines of the war fleet. The ships, sleek and deadly, cut through space like a knife through cloth, prepared to confront the threat head-on. The alien fleet joined them, their ships a mix of fear and resolve. They had made an enemy of humanity once, but now they would fight beside them against a much greater foe. As the two fleets neared the enemy's location, the void of space seemed to stretch endlessly ahead. Nothing could prepare them for what they were about to face. The enemy appeared suddenly, like a shadow emerging from the darkness. Their ships were vast and terrifying, made of strange organic matter that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The mere sight of them was enough to chill even the bravest warriors. The battle began with a deafening roar as the warships unleashed their devastating firepower. Beams of energy collided with the enemy ships, but they didn't seem to flinch. The enemy was not only strong, they were relentless. The war machines were doing their best, firing at the enemy, but they seemed to absorb the energy, reforming and fighting back with terrifying precision. Humanity's fleet fought on, pushing forward with everything they had. The aliens, once enemies of Earth, now fought with the same desperation, knowing that if they didn't succeed, the entire galaxy would fall. The clash was like nothing anyone had ever witnessed. Explosions filled the blackness of space as the two forces collided in a brutal, all-out war. But just when it seemed like all hope was lost, when the enemy began to overpower their combined forces, a new signal began to pulse from Earth's war fleet. The war machines, dormant for so long, had activated a secret protocol, one that even the humans hadn't known existed. In an instant, the machines synchronized their efforts, all acting as one. A massive wave of energy, stronger than anything the humans had ever seen, burst from the war fleet. The enemy ships, too vast to be destroyed by normal weapons, began to tremble. The energy wave hit them with such force that their ships shattered, breaking apart into pieces that floated lifelessly in space. But the victory was not without cost. The combined forces of Earth's war fleet and the alien ships had nearly exhausted their power. The war machines, having used up every ounce of their energy, slowly powered down, returning to their dormant state. The alien ships, too, were battered and broken, but they had won. The enemy had been defeated. The galaxy was safe, for now, but the price had been steep. The war machines, once a symbol of Earth's power, were now silent once again. The aliens, who had once feared humanity, now stood in awe of what they had just witnessed. The battle was over, but the truth was clear. Earth was not just a small, insignificant planet. It was a beacon, a force in the galaxy capable of shaping its destiny. The humans had proven that they were not to be underestimated. They had fought off a superior enemy, not just to protect themselves, but to protect everyone. The alliance with the aliens, once born out of necessity, had turned into something more: respect. Humanity had shown the galaxy that it could rise to any challenge, no matter how impossible. And though the war machines had returned to their dormant state, their legacy would live on, as a reminder to everyone that Earth was not just a place of history, but a force that would never be forgotten.